Hello and welcome to another Binary Ninja live stream, but not just any Binary Ninja live stream. This is the, okay, I'm just double checking. I think my audio is good. This is the 3.0 launch party. So without further ado, let's just jump right in. Let me switch over and see if I've got the whole gang over here. Hey, well, okay, wait, what? Where's everybody? All right, I see Rusty and I see Peter. There was like a bajillion people on here earlier. Where is everybody? No?
Hopefully suspiciously away from the password on the whiteboard.
Oh, there it is. Hiding the whiteboard passwords. I see. There we go.
Oh, are we showing up now?
You are. If you share your screens, yay! All right, there we go. Hey, Brinley, welcome. Glad you could make it this Saturday morning. Yeah. So okay, my camera's a little weird because I'm at like using a laptop camera. But this is so everybody. I think everybody on the call so far, and we'll see who else joins. Like literally, as people join us for this thing, they're just gonna pop in, and people can share the screen or give feedback. So we'll see how it goes. But we're kind of gathering to talk about 3.0. We're gonna go over like what's kind of new, and something is trying to install a kernel extension on my VM machine. So why doesn't everybody, I guess we'll go around the room and introduce yourselves, and maybe, let's do this, introduce yourself and describe something you worked on in the past 6 months for either Enterprise or 3.0. So you don't have to be an exhaustive list, but maybe something that you're most interested in or you're most proud of. So Glenn, you're first on my screen here.
All right. Hi, I'm Glenn. I did like half of Enterprise. Josh did like half of Enterprise.
It's not my turn yet.
It's not your turn yet, I'm sorry.
Stealing your thunder.
But yeah, I spent the last couple months doing Enterprise, kind of like the licensing stuff, collaboration stuff, all that.
A lot of the like the UI elements, right? And the
Yeah,
client side UI stuff was primarily yours. Yeah, so if any Enterprise customers are on, these, yeah.
Hello, the Python API is coming soon. We're working on it.
Did somebody ask about that yet? Yeah, not yet.
Not yet, but maybe. Prepare in advance, you know.
Yes, John. The OS update worked out. I joked earlier in the Slack that I did an OS update on my Mac, and if it died, that meant we weren't supposed to stream. So, all right. So is Peter hiding? So we don't have to call him. So Rusty, you're next up.
Hi, I'm Rusty, and I pretty much spent 6 months going on an epic quest, battling all kinds of Qt issues to make the UI what you see today.
Yeah. So the headlining feature was like, everyone was like, all right, Rusty, you're just gonna go do the UI refactor. Have fun. Tell us when you're done. And actually, you were like basically, it was your changes that defined the period for the update, just because that's why this was such a long update. Because it wasn't like we could do like, we didn't want to do like part of these, like it's a whole set of UI stuff. So, all right. So of all the things you did, Rusty, what's your favorite, personally, your favorite improvement to the UI as a result of this?
I don't know. I really like how the sidebar came out, but I also really like panes. It came out better than I expected.
I was surprised like the sync stuff, because at one point sync was going to be like a maybe, and then I think the implementation for that was actually really, really good. So yeah, I would be hard pressed to choose it too. I think initially I heard you say you really wanted Keelan disappeared. You really wanted yeah, someone warned the channel on Slack that once they join, they're live, like they're going straight live. So Rusty, I know initially you were saying like having the sidebar and being able to like do type view in particular was like the one thing you were sort of most looking forward to.
Yeah, having type workflow was a huge part of it. I wanted some way to work with types that didn't involve flipping back and forth between your binary and the types view. That got old really fast.
Yeah.
So that was one of the biggest inspirations for the sidebar.
Yeah, and that's why I think you were saying like panel was good, but also the panes, the multi-view stuff. So, we had reflection view, we had like, you could do one view, but it's just so much more flexible now. Works great with like kind of high DPI screens and popping out the separate windows. There's a lot of stuff. So, all right. So I think we rearranged. So Josh, you're next. You want to talk about what you've worked on the last 6 months?
Yeah. I think the last 6 months I've just been on enterprise. I did the server side for all of it.
Mhm.
Yeah, Glenn handled like all the client stuff because I think I worked on it for a couple of weeks in the beginning and everything was cursed, and then he's just kind of like, I can do this.
I'll take it. I'll take it from here.
Yeah.
Well, you did work a little bit on like the snapshotting, some of the database snapshotting. I think you both had a hand in, right?
Oh God, yeah.
Like that
yeah.
was
That was a lot, Josh, though.
yeah. So like actually
A lot work on the differential snapshots.
and that's
Yeah,
even
differential snapshots was way back. That was like, oh man, the first year I worked here.
so
It was
and
2
that
years
was
ago.
kind of part of the basis for collaboration too. And it you can people can see the merge tool, which I think actually Brian, if you're on the dev branch, one of the first updates that came out on dev, like the hour after 3.0 stable shipped, was some improvements to that as well too. So that's kind of a feature that we haven't really talked about a whole lot or even shown off. But you were the one that built that, and that
Yeah,
served as like the basis for collaboration, I think, right?
that
To a
was
large
that
extent.
was the earliest prototype of collaboration. Actually, was
Yeah.
based on user actions instead of like actual snapshots and analysis data.
And
Um,
and so yeah, tell me
it's still
what that UI
good.
does. Like, yeah, tell me how that UI works because I've never actually talked about it on stream. So for
Yeah,
context, I can show people real quick. Actually, let me see if I switch here. Can y'all say something?
we're saying things.
Okay, I think yeah, good. It's stream. Let me know if y'all can't hear them. I think they're still audible. They're not showing up on video. It's just showing me. But so what we're talking about here real quick is if you've opened up a binary and you go to the collaboration menu, this merge tool. So this is the feature that Josh originally built.
Yeah, this has been in beta for years.
It's been yeah. Brian asked me, he's like, can I remove the beta text? And I was like, please.
I don't know.
Well,
I haven't looked at it in a while.
he's also adding some fixes and stuff too. So
Yeah.
let me see. I'm gonna go ahead and add y'all actually as a source here while we're doing this. So why don't you go ahead and describe though, like kind of how you would use that menu, like what it does?
Yeah. So kind of the main use for it now is, let's say like you are working with a teammate on reversing a binary and you kind of both take different parts of the binary to work on. So binary ninja's like undo system works with what are called like actions. And basically what that means is like it records what you did where, and it's a single, like it's a linked list of actions. And what the merge tool will do is it'll kind of take all those actions, or at least ones you select from a binary, ignoring ones that overlap, and kind of slap them on in order to another copy of the BNDB. And this is really good if you're working on disjoint parts of it. It's not really great if you have a lot of overlap. It'll alert you that there are conflicts, and your database, it'll just kind of stop the merge and rely on you to kind of resolve things before you continue. You can uncheck certain actions and so on and so forth.
So now contrast that to what you guys have been working on. I mean, we've shown it on stream a little bit, for people who've seen collaboration.
Yeah,
but
collaboration's a lot smarter.
Yeah.
That explains why it took like 10 times as long to write.
It took a little bit more work, yeah. And
yeah.
And you've got like UI, so it's both smarter in terms of like how it can actually sync things. It also, if there are conflicts or whatever, the way you resolve
it
it
can automatically resolve conflicts really well.
Yeah.
Like Glenn did all of that.
It is a lot of JSON.
Yeah.
It is very complicated.
Well, and it also has like UIs, right? So you can not only like this automatically do it, but even if it doesn't, like you get much more intelligent, like show me what's changed and let me choose, than just sort of like picking and guessing that you'd have to do with the other one.
Yeah, I think one of the last issues we closed out on Enterprise was like the nicer merge UI. So it showed like differences in types and what happened and all that.
Yep. So going back to like other things you've done is if either one of you have anything that you've implemented, because I know you guys pick up bugs kind of all the time in other parts of the product. So is there something that wasn't enterprise based that you want to like be like, oh yeah, I did that. That was a lot of fun.
I'll say for Glenn, the wide string hotkey.
Yes.
I've been using that a lot recently.
Because you implemented the original Y-string support, like it was your first like intro test, I think, right? Like was actually support for
I
Y-string.
think it was like unit tests and then Unicode.
Yeah.
Thanks,
But
yeah.
like there was no way to actually easily create them, and then Glenn went into that. It's not
I
like
wrote a plugin which was kind of bad, and then Josh made it not bad, which was really cool.
which plugin was this?
It was the wide string plugin that added every single Unicode like character set to your valid list and made
Okay.
everything slow way down.
Yeah, the performance was not so great.
It was not great.
You also
Peter actually recently did a lot of Unicode improvements too. Like there was a binary where, well, if we didn't hang infinitely, like it would take God knows how long, like hours.
Oh, right,
And I
the
think he got it
performance
down to like
stuff.
16 seconds or
Yeah.
something to analyze.
That's right. Yeah, just Unicode strings performance. In
I
general.
got it down from infinite to 1.6 seconds. So
A little bit of a speed up.
Yeah,
I think that's
Yeah.
an infinity % speed up.
by
Yeah.
definition, yeah, I think it
yeah,
is.
how many people can say that they made a bug that or fixed a bug that can get that much speed up? But then it was like after I fixed the infinite loop bug, it was then like a 10,000x speed up.
So
Like,
so we've got sorry, one other thing I thought of too, Glenn, you did one of my, I don't know if I've shown this off on stream or not yet, but, and I apologize, y'all are gonna have to watch the YouTube and mute it if you want to actually see what I'm showing everybody on stream.
Oh, is this the hex integers thing?
Yeah, sorry, now it was about this like text files, hex integers. The hex integers in the Python console. That's actually one of my so not just because like it doesn't hex integers, right? So like why don't you talk about like what the features of it, and I'll kind of show off some of the stuff.
It's a display hook for Python that
Which I didn't know existed, by the way. Like I assumed you were gonna have to like, do some terrible hacks, and like it's
No, that's the
actually a
thing.
supported
It's
thing. Yeah.
standard. I think the original was monkey hex.
Yes. Yeah.
There have been
I
a
think
number of
Audrey
these
did
for a
that, right?
number of different Pythons for
Yeah.
a while, but this one works in Binja, and you put in integers and it shows them in decimal and in hexadecimal because converting back and forth is way easier when you can just see both.
Yep. So I'm showing off like current function at start and entry
Yeah.
point, and seeing both like hex and.
Which works really nicely with the fact that you can click hex addresses to navigate,
Yep.
which is like, it just seems like it should be the case by default.
Yes, and that was actually the first thing I did was I ran it and then clicked it.
Yeah.
The other little superpower that this one has that I really like is actually before we get to that, Peter, what did you do for 3.0? Did you do anything interesting or fun, like super exciting?
nothing at all.
Nothing this last 6 months.
Yeah, basically, I think I touched every line in the Python API pretty much. So yeah, added type hints to the entire Python API, which was a lot more work than I was assuming it was going to be, because like if you're going to add type hints, then really you should be using a type checker too. And so then it's like, oh, also fix all these bugs that come out as a result of having like type checking. So in addition to that,
so for context, I'm gonna pull up my stream real quick. I've got the GitHub Binary Ninja API contributor graph, and I can pull up like your little graph of like activity, and it's just you see this massive spike, and it's not just like it was one commit. There were like a series of massive changes and commits that was a ton of work.
83,000 lines and minus 42, so it's like so one of the things I'm super excited about the potential for is how I refactored the IL APIs. I think that's going to be really powerful going forward. This was a suggestion from Ryan. And it's like, so the way that it was done before was fast, like fast as in like fast to implement. But it was not, there was no way to plumb type hints through
All
at
right,
all.
I got to tell you, by the way, because the chat was a little quiet, and then you start talking about type hints, the API, and we've got several people like, yes, like
Yeah.
type hints, thank you. Like, so for what it sounds like a dry subject, I think people are actually pretty hyped.
Yeah. So yeah, so like there was no, like, if you have a low-level IL call, all that was a low-level IL instruction that had an operation called a call. So there was no way to know, like, well, what are the valid properties of a low-level IL call, right?
Yeah,
And
so I'm showing this in
more so,
the API
what
a little
is,
bit right now. You'd have to like use like the BNL graph was one of those popular plugins for exactly that reason, because that was like you had to like visually inspect just to figure out what things were.
right. And so so there was a lot of properties that would just like return none or something like that. There was just no way to know, like, for a particular type of instruction, what are the valid properties that are on that instruction. So it actually started out as like, oh, you know what, it would be way faster if we you know, constructed IL instructions on demand. And I was like, oh yeah, that's a good idea. And then it was like, oh yeah, but if we now like have classes per instruction, now we can like actually have an abstract type for like low-level IL class, and or low-level IL call, or even better, just call. So now we have a abstract base class called IL call, and got a baby running in here.
That's all right. So I'll show an example of that. For example, because you've got these base classes, and I've got like an IL instruction here. And I think I may have shown this a little bit because this is definitely something that I was pretty excited by. We can just do like an is instance of the current IL, and if I type it right, it'll just give us true or false. Like, is it an instance of a call? Is this an instance of a constant? No, it's actually not a constant, but yes, it is a call. But if I check the call.dest, and is that a constant? You know, I can check the source of that, and is the dest constant? And sure enough, it is, right? So you get like these kind of higher level properties that are super useful. Oh, and the trick that I learned, so as well, I know a lot of people have already read it, but if you haven't read the blog post, there's a ton of details about a lot of the stuff there. I had either forgotten or I just either learned the first time when I was reading up your section, Peter, on the API about like the visualizations too. So I really thought that was cool.
Oh yeah, that was kind of a fun little ad that I did that didn't take much work at all, but it was like, oh, this could actually be interesting, like, and helpful. So there's just like, so there's on the base class, there's like show the entire HLIL. So HLIL, yeah, so you can show the class hierarchy for the entire and like instruction, or you can if you have an instance of one, you can like do show IL hierarchy or show hierarchy or something like that, and it will show it for like a specific thing. And maybe tab on show.
Right. Oh, I can't get a current IL instance because I'm not on the function anymore. That'll do it. So let's go back to mega test. Current IL. There we go. So now a dot show. Yeah, show LLIL hierarchy and show hierarchy graph. So if you just show hierarchy graph. That's
hierarchy
super
graph,
clean. Yeah, that's really nice.
Yeah, and that shows just for this particular thing. And so yeah, this was an interesting thing that I somewhat recently added. Is their direct. So if you have a call, syscalls are also derived from calls. So you now have like, there's like a syscall, local call, disambiguation.
Yeah.
So like all the local calls will have a dest.
But a syscall would not.
Right, a syscall wouldn't have a dest.
But on the other hand, they would all have params. So like every call is going to have parameters, or at least the field for them, whether or not they're already. So.
Well, actually, not all of them have params because low-level IL doesn't have params.
That's right. That's right. Sorry. If I said medium level IL, then it would be true. But yeah, that's a good point. So yeah, I mean, I actually think it's pretty nifty too, because like this is something, you know, I think is sort of unique to us, because we built these like UI primitives, and then, you know, you saw we show off like the debug report for high level IL when Rusty was, but one of the first things you did was built a visualization to see what transformations are happening at what steps. And I just think it like to be able to like kind of peer to the hood, you know, you get like a lot of information. Actually, kind of on that note too, in the blog post, I have one of the screenshots of our workflows diagram too. Same sort of thing. Like Brian implemented like the ability to like instrument and modify and hook and reorder like all of his analysis things. And the same thing, you can visualize it, you can look at it, which makes it, I just think, a lot easier to poke around. So I know we've got a bunch of people who are welcome, Thomas. Hey, everybody else. Sorry, I'm slow on chat. In fact, ask questions if you got them too, because like the whole point of this is we're gonna get the whole dev team, and I blab on stream a lot, but like these are the people. My Twitter bio says I'm the worst developer amongst very many smart ones working on Biter Ninja, and it's true. So like you've got the right people on now to answer our questions. So in chat, if you've got questions, please ask them. Go ahead, Peter. What were you gonna say?
Yeah, I was just realizing what I really should do is do a flow graph report where I can have all of the instructions, and you can click on each one and see each of their individual class hierarchies.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So for context, the current high level IL show debug. No, it's show debug. Current function dot show debug report. I think. Rusty, am I just typing it wrong?
I honestly don't remember the exact syntax.
Yeah, I usually go to api.binary.ninja. Small plug for the one thing that I did add, which is completely useless right now, but give it a few weeks and it'll be relevant again, which is you can do dev-api.binary.ninja if you want to look at dev docs. They're identical currently, but so it's show debug report. I just don't remember. Maybe it's off the binary.
Request debug report?
Debug. Is that what it was? Report. Yeah, it is request. Current function, and it's a request. Okay, so current function at request. Thank you. Request debug report. And then you have to give the report type, and it's HLIL, high level IL. So yeah, this is the other one. So for context, the sort of a flow graph report lets you have a whole bunch of related flow graphs, and you've got like the menu of on the left, and then you can select through them. And so that's what's nearly Rusty built this to show what the decompiler was doing, and it's really visually easy to see what broke what broke something. When did an optimization go wrong, and why did something get worse or better? And you could, so yeah, doing the same thing, but for the IL relationships and the IL instructions is that's a cool idea.
Yeah.
Be a lot easier than this monstrosity.
There's a lot of speed improvements on the API. Just refactoring everything, so it's like the into classes made IL iteration like 3 times faster, because we don't have to like we only construct the properties on demand now instead of
when you start
ahead of time when you're iterating. So if you need to just like, oh, I'm looking for, whatever the operation is.
For function in bv.functions, find the one that has a particular start address, for example. It used to be you'd get the whole list of all the functions and then look through them until you found the right one. Whereas with the new approach, you stopped. You don't have to do any more analysis once you found the thing that you care about, and could focus on that instead. Yeah. So let's see. I think we've got a few people that are hiding. Who's on audio only that wants to talk about something that they worked on? Trying to see if I can pull it up here. Or is this it? Did everybody else drop off? All right, you should nag on people to get them to join the stream. But yeah, so hey Fox, welcome. And thanks, Cybreak. Yeah, I was typoing and typing the wrong API name. So like I said, I think we kind of have a lot of regulars on the stream, and so people that already are familiar with some of the stuff. So I don't want to belabor and talk about stuff y'all have seen a million times before. But just kind of as a reminder, 3.0 it's a lot of stuff. I'm really impressed that a number of y'all actually read the changelog. Oh, and I know Brinley saw it, but I'm not sure how many people noticed the Easter egg that we mailed out some stickers and stuff.
People want to see Pseudo C.
Well, are you gonna get on? You don't want to get on stream and talk about it?
My laptop's all over there.
Oh, the laptop's so far away. Well, you're kind of it's this camera now, so you're kind of yeah. You can come in. All right, yeah. So let's talk about Pseudo C because Pseudo C is absolutely. So make sure I'm in the right view. Yeah, Pseudo C is a great example where I think we knew it was important, but we didn't realize how important it was going to be to a lot of people until after we were making progress and started showing it off. And so I fully, and I want to like point this out too for people that that haven't already realized it, but in Binja, if you change your settings, you can change your default linear mode. All right, where is it? I remember the name of the set. Default view for IL linear view. Like, oh, actually you can do that as Pseudo C. And so if I restart Binja, it's gonna now default to just like Pseudo C view. So if you really, really wanted that C-like view, you're getting some yeses in chat, which I'm not surprised by. Oh yeah. In fact, yeah. Thank you, BH. I missed that earlier. Yeah, was asking for that as well. So this is default. And before you talk about that for a second, let me make sure there was other. Okay, yeah. So we'll get to the Rust questions next. Yeah. There's some good stuff in Rust, but first you want to talk about Pseudo C? Like the mic is there, so it's a little bit stiff.
So it's C. Yeah, it's a translation of high level IL into C, which is kind of cool, and it synchronizes with high level IL, and it synchronizes with this assembly or whatever, which is pretty nice. And it's C, and that's it's not much else. It's just...
I think there's a lot that like goes into it, but I think
so. Like, how did you actually
coming down to it? It's just
that?
C.
So yeah, Peter's asking. Sorry, you're in my headphones, so you can't hear you. But Peter's asking like, what did you actually do? Like yes, that's the end result, but like, how did you get there? Was it just like, oh, you called the 2C API? Why didn't we expose that earlier, right?
So it was just I took high level IL and I lifted it again. Like it's like another lifting layer to C. So it's just the translation of high level IL into C.
So and you weren't doing like optimization passes, like rewriting everything, doing control flow recovery the way that high level IL does, or like there's some like stuff going on like in between. Like what are the
well, high level IL already does all the heavy lifting.
Yeah.
So it's just sort of like a translation. It's a translation. It's just like taking HLIL and producing it out differently.
Yeah, and so that gets us, something that we weren't. I think we this is one of those like we weren't sure like how long is it going to take. And it's like, oh wow, that looked really good really quickly. And then there's like the long tail of like, okay, this little bug, this little bug. There's always
10
so
commits that are fixed bug.
Yeah, if you find bugs. So Thomas, on the import side, you can already import stuff. There's just a bunch of caveats. I want to maybe on the next stream, I want to talk a lot about like the importing and the differences. But I mean, the C parser, so the C parser and the Pseudo C are totally different things, right? So like the Pseudo C is just this view here, and we can also do like open a new window and compile. And that's going to use SCC, the built-in compiler. which has a help doc in the help menu. So if you want to look a little bit more information on that, you can pull it up there. But the yeah, I got maybe move the camera down so you can sneak away. I'll turn the camera back on now. So that's SEC. That's the compiler that is also used for type parsing right now, and that's probably something we've talked about kind of changing. I don't know if Peter, Rusty, what do you want to kind of chime in on, like type parsing and kind of how that works or future of it?
It's awful.
Okay, I mean,
don't ever try to write a type parser.
Yeah.
Best advice to anyone.
Yeah, use Clang, use something that already does it. So for context, if you do want to parse things, there are APIs that you can use. There's BB. There's a platform-based API that uses like platform type information. And you can give it a source file and a folder, and it will parse it into the types. And there's also just bb.parse, I think type string. Like you can just give it some sort of type there. Oops, and if this is probably not even valid.
That's not.
Oh,
uint, not unint.
Unint, yeah. So like you can just type in a little snippet there, and you can get types parsed out of it. But there's just a bunch of like, there's a bunch of edge cases. There's things like, preprocessor directives. There's things where, like, for example, it would be nice if this came up on the OA Lab stream, where it'd be nice if we could just import the types that IDA shows, except IDA starts types with invalid C characters, right? They have $ and numbers at the beginning of types, and like those are not valid symbol names in the C spec. And so the current parser doesn't support that. Yeah, and it's not wrong, but like we'd still like to be like, our type system itself can support it. We can make a type with that, because the core type system is not meant to represent just C, but meant to represent any meant to represent other types, and so there's no limitation in the core for it. But because we're using a C parser to parse C structure type stuff out, it does have more limitations than we'd like. So there's definitely some work that we're gonna do on that front. Let me make sure I'm not missing. And if anybody else on stream is watching chat and amongst the Vector folks and wants to like answer questions that I'm missing, please do. Excellent. Yeah, thanks, Xander. So I think we kind of answered that, Zion. That it's mostly just syntax translation. There's not a lot of restructuring because we didn't need to. That it was just mostly kind of surface layer stuff. But I think there is a little bit of restructuring still, more just around like casts and types and getting things that are C output.
Yeah, there's certain things that we can't easily do in the way that it's currently done. Like, for instance, functions that return multiple values, like that's most of the time it's probably a bug when Binary Ninja shows that. But well, if it's like C or C++ code, then it's most likely a bug when we actually show it. Like there's something going wonky with like.
And again, we want the system to be able to support that, because eventually we want to handle other languages.
There are languages that have multiple return registers that use multiple registers for returns, and but like it would be really difficult to like restructure the pseudo C to not have that. So we just emit that. Like we're just like, oh yeah, it's pseudo C. It's not really C. Like a lot of times it's compilable, but just like Gaida and Ghidra, like it's not guaranteed to be compilable. And you might have to, mess around with it to get it to be compilable.
Yeah, like which one of these do you want to be the actual return, instead of us just silently dropping it, let you pick and choose.
Right.
So you can do it yourself. Yeah, KGF. I don't know if a lot of people realize that too, but you can actually from Pseudo C or high level IL, you can just hit space and you've actually got the Pseudo C in the graph. Although I did notice, I think braces.
Yeah.
It's a minor bug. Braces show up, open braces do, but closed braces don't, or maybe that's just kind of how it works. Which is interesting. And it actually does bring up one of the things we've talked about for a future update is we want to improve the graph layout algorithm. And now that we have like high level IL like ordering and graphing information, that would be neat if we could use that to structure the lower level code, right? So lay out the graph, this is something Rusty has talked about, actually inform the graph layout based on the higher level structure of the code, which would be super neat. So I think that's a cool idea. But yeah, so Pseudo C is fantastic. I think a lot of people like it. Again, it's one of the things that as we started working on it and got feedback, we realized more and more. Before I forget, John, welcome to the stream. I guess everybody else just dropped off. I don't know if they're trying to like make more room for the people, but it's good to see you. Do you want to talk? You have, I think, by volume, about as many of the top features as anybody in this release, even though you're not even a full timer right now.
I mean, it's cheating because it's two separate sidebar tabs. But
Well, and we did kind of technically we combined them. So if you look in the blog post, mostly because the blog was getting so long, I tried to like shrink up the list of things. But I think those are two distinct and useful things. So why don't you talk about stack and variable view?
yeah, I made stack and variable view sometime last summer, and I think they're pretty interesting to use. I personally really use stack view a lot. It's nice being able to see how stuff actually looks on the stack. And out of all of the tools that I've used, I like the way that our stack view looks the most. But that's probably a little bit biased considering that
Considering you made it.
I designed it, but
It's fair.
I think
But
it's
it would
pretty
be
enjoyable.
pretty awful if you didn't like yours better.
Well, I mean, then we can talk about variables view if you want to talk about that. But
The things that you don't like as much. I will say I still think so. I think variables view maybe needs some more like iterations and stuff. But the really cool part about variables view is that like this is I'm trying to find a good example somewhere in the code here. But the fact that you can go through variables view, I mean, students use it a little while. That doesn't make a difference. And you
if
can
you go to, I know what binary that is because I sent that to you months ago.
yes.
And that's become the stream binary. If you go to restricted random number, that's the name of the function. There's a good example.
This one doesn't have restricted random number.
Oh,
There's the different
oh wait,
one.
no, megatest.
Mega test. Go back to that one. Okay. Yeah.
You go to restricted random. So I wrote this binary around the same time that I was writing all of this.
Yeah. So this is it's just checking the state of checking this variable and then changing it. And so the variable view changes based on the context you have selected.
If you go to the return, it should even tell you that it's like 7 or 12. I can't read.
Oh yeah, it does.
It is.
It does. Yeah, the value set analysis will give us both possibilities. Yeah.
Yeah. So we recently, that works pretty well. We recently had some issues. If you try to do that on like an enormous function, it would get pretty slow pretty quickly, which is bad. So there's a threshold setting now to prevent trying to query that information for functions with like 4,000 basic blocks. But yeah, variables view, I definitely like stack view better out of those two creations from the summer.
Yeah.
But I think there's room for improvement with both of them. But for 3.0, not too bad.
We to answer your question in the chat, by the way, Ricardo, debugger, the Python debugger hasn't been updated as much lately. A lot of that is because there's a rewrite for the debugger to be built in native and C++. That's made really good progress. Didn't quite make the 3.0 release, but will almost certainly make the next stable. So it's kind of sometimes we're trying to split and figure out how much time do we put into like fixing and supporting the old one when we're, that time slows down the release of the new one, and we kind of try to balance that. And some stuff we do fix, and we try to support it. But feel free to ping us in Slack if you're still stuck on stuff and there's things we can help you with that. There's actually a debugger channel on the Binary Ninja Slack. The stack grows to the left. That's a new argument, Zion. I haven't heard that one before. So cool. Let's see. We got anybody else to join? Is there anybody on audio only that I missed?
We do news on the debugger.
Oh yeah.
We've been working. We've had an engineer working full time on the debugger for over 6 months, rewriting it in C++, making it faster, making it less buggy. It still needs to look good, which that's why I've roped John in to help with some of that. So he's been doing some comparative analysis and stuff like that to.
Yeah, Septarshi, to answer your question, we absolutely would like to support remote debugging. In fact, even the current Python one supports several flavors of remote debugging
it already supports remote debugging.
And the new one as
new
well.
One already supports it.
Yeah, we have been looking at, like, I think there's one case that was still, was it remote Windows that was still tricky, I think? I forget which one it was, but in general, remote debugging is definitely a thing, right?
Oh yeah, remote Windows debugging is problematic. Like we would have to reverse the protocol, but remote, but you can do remote GDB on Windows debugging and remote LLDB on Windows debugging.
Yeah.
So you just can't do remote WinDebug, which we would like to be able to do. It would be pretty cool.
Yeah, Ricardo, like I said, the Python one, it works.
It was a prototype,
but a prototype is a better kind of word for it. But check the WinDBG driver for the remote, like, so we don't have to like reverse the protocol. Cool. Did they even like just give you PDBs on it, give you full symbols and make it easy mode? Yeah. So it's been like a really busy week. We put a lot of work into like the blog post and the last little bit of testing. Okay, sweet. Yeah, we'll make sure to point that. So Shusheng, who's been on stream a couple times, he's the one that won the Grand RE challenge, and he's been on to talk about that. He is working on the debugger right now. But sweet.
Oh yeah. So yeah, you're right, Thomas. I think the issue is that we really want to do cross architecture, like cross platform.
Yeah.
Like we want to be able to do like remote kernel debugging from a Mac machine to a Windows machine. Now we could definitely have it Windows to Windows, and use those, the WinDebug interface and stuff.
So Septarshi, those are already gone. Your question about the .qs and w's. So let me summarize that real quick. What you're looking at is high level IL, where you'll see like .d, like SAS operations are done that way, and I like it better. So I actually prefer that, and some people do as well. But if you want to just look at C, this is the new view called Pseudo C, and you can switch into that. You can change the settings and make that the default, and that will just give you C. You'll see casts instead when there are size kind of changes. So it's a much closer experience to IDA Ghidra if that's what you prefer. So that was one of the big important things that we shipped in this release. So make sure you're on 3.0 for that. Fox, one day I'll get Crazy Bomb. I really want to try to convince one of the other people in the company to hop on that and make that a that's like I need like a Crazy Bomb meme image for when one day I'll do Crazy Bomb Part 2. But yeah, I'd like to do that with somebody else because I feel bad when I RE poorly on stream.
I'll have to hop on with you.
Yeah, that would be fun. Let's pick we should also pick a and do a little bit of malware RE, which would be fun because neither one of us are malware reversers. So we'll both be learning. We'll ask some of the folks that do that to give us some suggestions. Someone else should jump on this crazy bomb. Exactly. Where's the? I need a soundboard. Hold on. Do I have a soundboard? I have. I have applause, but I need a rim shot. I actually did set up a soundboard. Anyway, yeah. So the Windows types are the next. Or so Windows 3.1. Actually, we can look at that a little bit here. Let me switch over, and we look at kind of the roadmap and the issues because so we haven't done our like official scrub. Peter, you kind of want to talk about like the release cycles and how we plan stuff while I pull this up?
Yeah, so for the 3.0 version increments, we're planning on going with almost themed releases, because we've gotten some feedback that's like, look, I really enjoy using Binary Ninja, but it feels like my particular workflow for X, for Windows malware, or for iOS stuff, like there's a bunch of things that aren't ideal, right? And that we could do better on. So what we wanted to do is kind of pick a particular workflow and really focus on nailing that workflow, making that workflow the best of any tool available. And so that's kind of what we're doing. And so we're going to be focusing on 3.1. There's kind of two things that we're focusing on. One is going to be database load and store performance. That's a big one that Rusty's really excited to work on. I just added tickets for that today.
It's not. I was just noticing it's May, but it's not been put on the milestone yet. So I pulled it up separately.
Oh no!
Nope, not the milestone.
Weird. I thought I put milestones and projects for all of this. Anyway, and
load time was, but not save speed. No, I see why. The load time was, save speed just got missed. I just clicked one that didn't happen to have it.
Yeah. So yeah, there's some interesting ideas we have to be able to make load time be like on demand, like BNDB's load on demand the parts that are needed. So we think we could get like instant loads essentially of BNDBs. Functionally instant, right? Like you'll be able to click, it'll open, show you whatever's on screen, and then we'll background process. And then similarly, we can do, if we're able to do it right, we can do background saves as well. But we'd kind of have to know like we'd have to have better information about what we need to save and when we need to save it and stuff like that. And yeah, so Thomas asks, what would the price be for instant loads? Yeah, it would be so like
it actually won't take any more space on disk because it's already on disk.
Right, not for instant loads.
If you're gonna immediately go and like
scroll around a bunch of other places,
EV functions and go process them all, it would load it on demand there on that side.
Yeah, it wouldn't be slower if you were doing that. It just wouldn't be any faster than the current.
Yeah, it has to load it anyway. Yeah. So now it would only have to do that if you're actually
scripting something up across the whole, or doing anything across the whole binary.
Like
now, if you're just browsing the binary, it doesn't need to do that because you're not looking at every function in the binary.
Right.
So one of the questions earlier was, speaking of type libs, when do we get sort of a UI visualization for the type libraries?
Yeah, that would be great. I've really been wanting to do that.
So Andrew's
we
work
don't
is a
have
little
any.
bit in that direction. And that he has his parser that will take a BNTL, right, and turn it into JSON. Is that would be
Yeah,
that's
I mean, there. I kind of feel like that's just that's kind of just a human readable serialization format. It's
that's
really
fair,
not
not a UI.
anything in the way of a step towards a UI. I've really wanted a UI. I would settle for a set of command line tools to like just be like, because if it is a text, then it's diffable, right? So you can be like, all right, take this type lib, dump it to dump it to JSON, have some things that add the type, and then dump it back into a type lib or something like that.
And it is one of the things we've been using it for already is use it to diff things to quickly see changes between versions of type libraries.
What changed between
because we actually unfortunately had some regressions between 2.4 and then dev on 3.0.
In fact, there's I'm realizing I wrote something a while ago, like one of the things that we would like to do, because we already serialize everything to JSON. That's how like our database is stored, is like take the structure, serialize it to JSON, then zip it and put it in the SQLite database. We've been thinking about switching over to flat buffers, which would probably make the serialization phase be like 1/100th the cost. And you can take one of those flat buffers and convert it to JSON already. So, but we are also already serializing. So I don't know. It's just some strange thoughts.
Sorry, I'm fiddling with my camera, seeing if I can try to switch to the other one, but it's not really worth it.
Yeah, there's going to be a huge pass on trying to figure out database performance very soon.
Yeah, so the related one there too. You mentioned database speeds, but you also mentioned memory utilization as well, right? That's one of the other.
So one of the steps towards that is figuring out how do we make Binary Ninja a little more able to use disk as a intermediate stage, so that we don't have to keep right now. A lot of stuff is kept in RAM that doesn't necessarily need to be in RAM.
There's a good meme image of the like Cookie Monster like with Binja, and it's eating all the RAM. Like we want more RAM, and like we are very very RAM heavy just because we sort of designed it like we'd rather have the performance, but there are certain very large cases where that's not always true, and just in general, it's nice to have the ability to use less RAM.
And in some cases, we can actually make it faster. For example, if we can serialize IL to disk, where there's a lot more storage available, we now don't need to recompute that.
Yeah.
So it might actually be faster to use disk.
Yeah. And one thing that we do that I know IDA doesn't, and it's been honestly a long time since I've used IDA heavily, is like we essentially decompile everything. Whereas IDA's like has this on-demand approach.
It's still that way. Yeah.
It's like you decompile a function, and then you see this like, oh, let me look at this other function that it's calling, and you double click on that, and then the parameters change, and you're like, why did the parameters change? And then you go back, and then your function's up, the function that you just decompiled is updated, and you're like, it's super confusing, and then you have to keep on hitting like F5 or whatever, or tab, and F5 to re-decompile, right? And like you don't ever like, I don't think people like realize that we do that automatically. Like you don't ever have to like, oh, like manually propagate, you know, parameters back and forth, because we do it all in the
That's what we're
background
doing when you open the
automatically.
binary. That is the normal analysis process we
This
always
is
follow.
why
Yeah.
we take up so much RAM.
Yeah.
Like IDA was built when like you had very small RAM limitations, right? Like it took them a long time to get to 64-bit, right? So you know, they've had this like, you know, 2 gig limit, and we're just like, well, we're never even going to like ship a 32-bit. So like I'm not saying anything bad about IDA. It's just like,
Well, again,
yeah,
some of the design
this
stuff
is
we're talking about
this is
doing is moving to a model more like theirs. We talk about serializing to disk and using the disk more.
right.
Like, so it's not a bad design in that regard. Like, it's just it's, you know, a trade off. But the flip side is, you know, we've got the analysis of everything kind of right out the gate. That's what you're getting just
Yeah.
when you open a file. Yeah, and then Ghidra is likewise very similar, and you know, except it's even slower. It's the slowest by far of all of them to trigger a full decompilation to everything. You pay for it a lot in performance there if you dump it all to C. So any questions in chat? And I'm hoping I think we've scared off all the other developers. We'll have to like have everybody on or something and prepare them more to make them not scared of hopping on stream next time. But then any questions y'all have about where we're going? So I'll pull up. Josh says he's getting food, so he may be back. But I'll pull up that list of 3.1 changes. So just this is our public GitHub, and you can go to the milestones and pull up 3.1. There's only 28 things in here. This is not the full list of things that we plan to do for 3.1. These are just the things that we've just sort of tossed in here right now. And we definitely plan, so we need like a week off at least. We usually take a, well, I need 2 because I'm going to spend next week doing a training in Berlin. So if anybody here is going to Offensive Con, I look forward to seeing you next week. But, you know, what we're,
Good questions.
okay, yeah,
sorry.
go for it. No, go ahead.
Someone asked if there's going to be some love for SIGKit. And yes, part of the Windows stuff, we're, one of the things that we have not done very well at all is keep up with adding things to SIGKit. One of the issues that we've had with that system is it needs to operate on object files, and ideally, like, we're able to use that on Windows, because like MSVC, right, being statically linked is like kind of a huge thing that we don't support. So part of 3.1 is a plan to get that update SIGKit, get that get all signatures for all the different Visual Studio runtimes. So yes, there will be some love for SIGKit, I hope, and I hope we're going to try to do in
Hold on,
3.1.
Are they really back there playing Smash? Somebody just said, sorry, I'm not on stream. I got talked into playing Smash. I'm so tempted to like carry a laptop in there and call him out. All right.
So then another question from BH. What's the hardest challenge? What was the hardest change to get ready for in 3.0? What was the change you thought would be difficult but ended up being easier? I'll answer that one. The thing that we thought was going to be, we didn't think decompile to C was going to be difficult, but it ended up being even easier than I thought it was going to be.
Or maybe Zane is just that good. That's another possibility.
I mean, Zane is good, but still, the total lines of code that were required to do that
less
were
than we
far
expected.
fewer than I thought they would be.
I agree.
I guess another
Another
Go
one
ahead.
that was a lot easier than expected was sync.
Mm.
The
Mhm.
sync groups turned out to be
Hmm.
like our Git repo actually says that I renamed reflection view to sync groups.
Yeah, that's that going from, so we already had reflection view, but it had a lot of limitations on what you could show. And then I remember you put a ton of work into panes, and then we're like, oh no, are we gonna be able to get this done in time? And you got, or sorry, you put a ton of work into at the sidebar, and then you did panes, and you barely got, you got that done in time, but we're like, are we gonna get any syncing at all? Like, how's that gonna work? And it was just like a few days later, you're like, oh yeah, that was easy. Like, reflection view had it all. It just works.
Yeah. Something that was way harder than I thought it was going to be is the type hints. Like, I thought it was going to be like, oh yeah, just go through and it's going to be tedious. Like, for some reason I have this sick like fetish of like this tedious work that like it when it's like measurable, when it's like you can gamify it, I'm just like all about it. Like when I can have a disassembler that's like, I
Yeah.
know what the percentage of completion is, and I have this very clear, straightforward, and then I can just like Zen mode, like
Adding instructions.
thinking,
Yeah.
not thinking, like writing tons of code. Like
Please don't
it's
try playing RuneScape then.
Well, he'll disappear. We'll never see
yeah.
him again. So
Yeah.
there was one I missed earlier. Ricardo, how hard would it be able to undo patches? I'm not sure I understand the question. If anybody else thinks they have an idea what that might mean, or if you can kind of rephrase the question. Just Zane face on T-shirt. I don't think we're gonna do that. Our folks are suggesting Peter needs to try Factorio. Also not a good idea, I think.
Yeah.
Type lib should be easy. So yeah, it only took you 2 years. No big deal. Exactly. So yeah, there's the most of the stuff we need for types is kind of there. But getting the Windows types, yeah, unions, there's just a couple little gotchas that cause trouble. But I'm like, I'm not worried for 3.1 for getting all the types ingested and in. It's just kind of a matter of doing it. I don't think there's any like fundamental reasons that we're gonna, at least that we expect to have problems with it. I'm also it's for me it's more about like the overall process. When Peter was joking earlier about like importing from types is such a pain, writing a type parser is a pain. Like that's the stuff that like we can just do the Windows type stuff I think without too much work, but also making the type ingestion process just easier. Right? You should just be able to like just drag and import a header file and just have it just be way more flexible and just kind of work in a nice UI and like stuff like that we can do. I think to round out the process there.
One of the difficult things about a type parser is that in reverse engineering tools, you have a lot of non-standard things that always crop up because you have weird binaries that aren't C, like all kinds of problems. Like, oh, we have this
Slack
random like
space.
user provided calling convention support, and oh, you have to be able to tag a parameter with its stack location because it's in a weird place, and all of these things that have to be added to the language.
Oh,
Yeah.
so Ricardo, the question is like if you patch a file with Binary Ninja, you save the BNDB and open it later, you can't undo the patch. So you have to reanalyze your original file. So this might be solved. I'll let either Peter or one of the other folks correct me, but this might actually be solved by something that we're planning to work on, which is the like history viewer. So we already have a lot of analysis history in your snapshots. And so it's kind of like your undo buffer. And again, you can see that when we use the merge tool, or again, if you are in collaboration, you can actually get more information about the things you've done. But actually building in a tool in Binja itself to be able to like go back through your history of changes and undo changes is definitely. And I think actually this is like Rusty or Peter. Could you like cherry pick and just undo like one change a while ago? I think you could, right? The way that the stuff design works, you could say, oh, this edit of bytes back here, get rid of that, but then still replay all of my other changes like naming, creating types and comments and all that stuff. Like still do that. I think that would even be doable, right? Or I'm making stuff up. Okay.
It like you could get into a really weird scenario, like just like if you tried to do that at like a rebase and like
Sure.
remove a commit, like yeah, you go back, but now you have to like replay all of those. And if you ever get into a state where like it doesn't make sense to have removed that, like where, you know, imagine the scenario where it was like, I don't know, you told it to make a function and then, you know, you removed that.
Yeah.
And then later it's using that function
To do something else.
you'd
There's a lot of
have this, like,
dependencies inherent in the
rebase,
history.
you'd
Yeah.
have a rebase conflict and then you'd have to resolve that. So, but patches, generally speaking, you know, shouldn't have too much downstream effect, but they really could, like if you're messing with parameters.
So
stuff like that.
BH, to answer your question, we actually already have a whole bunch of data flow analysis APIs, essentially.
Yeah, he's talking about taint analysis though, which we would love to have a taint analysis system. Yeah, it's one of those things where I mean, I've actually kind of wrote one that's like prototype level stuff where you could actually have these like data flow graphs and stuff like that. But we don't have any immediate plans for anything like that. We imagine in the future having like, at least I imagine, I have to convince everyone else, it's like Binary Ninja Malware Edition, Binary Ninja VR Edition, where it's like, all right, there's like a set of features that are, you know, implemented in this that are specifically for, you know, people that are doing VR, specifically for people that are doing malware, stuff like that. This allows us to do things like be able to separately price the
Binge Battle Pass.
the different, yeah, the different editions, so that, you know, we don't end up, well, in the same place that IDA is, where they have to have this really large price to like justify all of the development effort that's gone into it, right? So, you know, if we spend, you know, 10 man years on this like feature, but that feature is only really helpful for, you know, VR people, like, you're really gonna charge all the malware people for that? Like,
And vice versa.
They'd rather
yeah.
get, you know, or yeah, and vice versa. They'd rather get this, like, maybe they just want this base tool that is like decompilation, and it really doesn't help find bugs or, you know, understand malware.
Yeah. Well, like, yeah, you still got to convince everybody else. And we have talked a lot about, one of the things we even toyed with was like, you know, Ninja Hex, just as a simple example of even like making either a free or like another version of Binary Ninja that's using the types and the templating stuff and being able to like have a, you know, a really nice free hex editor based on the same kind of core. And yeah, Dank, paid plugins are another similar kind of chain as well that we've
I
thought
think
about.
paid plugins are gonna happen sooner rather than later.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean,
after I do database save and load, I'm going to be going on a long quest to add additional language support for our decompilation and truly decompile a lot of other languages that aren't C.
Yeah, I want to buy the Go
So those could
decompiler,
be
and that doesn't mean pull out
separate
Go
paid
debug
plugins
symbols.
or-
That wouldn't be Go debug symbols and Go like file format. It's a no. You're now looking at Go after you run the decompiler. So that's yeah.
Doesn't like Red Deck have something like that? I haven't looked at it since like,
Does it? I haven't either. I didn't
I
see
don't
that.
know, like senior year or something. But yeah, I thought they had like a decompiled a Python pseudocode or something. I don't know why that rings a bell.
Yeah, someone
Yeah,
mentioned
C++.
C++, which is another one
Yep.
I would want to do.
Yeah.
Oh man,
Yeah, exactly. Language specific. So there is a Python
being
library.
able to actually like display and handle templates in decompilation would be amazing.
Yeah. So how are we doing on questions? Yeah. That's that's still a little ways out there. We'll see. We actually did have some other people ask about even like for architectures. Like there's certain architectures that are a lot of work that it's not justified for us because like we build it and like cool we get an extra 10 licenses sold because there's like 10 people that really care about that architecture. Like that just doesn't justify the time it would take us to build it. But and then build it into like the base price. But if somebody else wants to like build it and sell it, and they could charge a lot more money for just that one architecture because it's worth it to those 10 people, like really, really valuable to have a really high quality decompiler that they can, do all our stuff on. So that's something that, yeah, Rust decompiler.
Oh, so I rejoined because I saw, I heard database talk and undo everything.
Yeah. So what's your take on my crazy idea of like, well, not my crazy idea. Ricardo asked about the idea of reverting patches, and I generalized that too. Could you take the history of changes and like pick off and undo something earlier without completely breaking everything?
Without completely breaking is a weird one,
The
but
high
you're
bar.
kind of relying on the user to be smart about it, which in software development is hard.
Yeah.
To trust the user to not break it. But no, I mean it's the same way in Git. Like if you revert an old commit, you basically need to rebase on top of everything. Then you have a merge commit state, and you need to get it to a working state where you can apply future changes and have it work. So I think this is bold, especially because I'm probably going to be the one working on a lot of this. But I think that being able to like cherry pick undo in history is going to be possible pretty cleanly.
So, and that's, I think Marcus actually said that a little bit up there earlier, basically, that like, yeah, analysis could be tricky, but like, reverting bytes and stuff, and we have that history. So
Yeah, I mean, we have analysis
interesting.
bases where we
Yeah.
can basically ensure that it gets to a state where everything is fine and you can continue on doing what you're doing, even if it means the user needs to manually restore like whatever, an inverted branch or something.
So, Marcus, I think people will pay for plugins in the reverse engineering space. If you can look at like Dynamics and their history before Google bought them, right? Like they had basically 3 different products, and each at a completely different scale of like both like the cost like went way up, but the number of potential customers went way down, and they were very different, right? They had BinDix, BinDiff, VX class, and what was the last one? I forget the third one. But they sort of had like this range of things. Yeah, exactly. BinDiff. So, BinDiff was a very popular paid tool before Google bought them out. And like, yes, it's free now. And yes, we have Diaphora and we have other kind of options, but welcome, Sergey. So like I think there is potentially a market for a really good high quality like RE tooling. Like here's a hypothetical, right? Like tomorrow, Rolf Rolls releases a plugin. He's like, you put this in and you can reverse engineer C++ perfectly with Git or IDE or Binge or whatever like the tool is, right? It's this paid thing and like it just does C++. I think there's a lot of people that would just like, yep, I'll buy it. Like, depending on the price point. So I do think there is a possibility of paid plugins, but you also do have to be careful. And one of the things like we've thought of is it would be cool to have a marketplace of paid plugins for other people to do. If we start doing some things that are paid plugins, like we do have to be careful. Like we still want the base product to be so good and compelling and have a good API. We don't want to like the same reason that we included the decompiler with all of our products, right? Like it just didn't make sense to us to only give the decompiler to some of our users because we want all of the plugins to be able to access and to be used by all of our users for like the decompiler. And so that was kind of a hard choice because it's like, well, do we just raise the price or do we do it as a paid add-on? And we did just raise the price because we just want that to be kind of for everybody. But
so if you look at it the right way, one of the most successful paid plugins of all time was Hexrays.
Yeah, that's a great point. It really was just the paid plugin for a while.
So here's the thing. It's all about price. Like you actually have to price it realistically. Like, and by realistically, I mean, it's got to be freaking expensive. Like you're not going to make a living selling reverse engineering plugins at $100 pop. You're just not.
Yeah.
Like, there's not enough people. Like, you don't, you can't do it. Like, you can't run a team off of it. Like, maybe you by yourself, but then that just means that it's not going to be very good if it's one developer. It's going to be, marginal. It's going to be like, all of the other reverse engineering plugins out there that are like supported by one guy. Like, if you have a team of people and you're able to charge $10,000, like a la BinDiff or Hexrays decompiler, then then you can actually afford to do the development on it and run a team.
All right, poll in the
but-
chat. If you, especially if you do reverse engineering commercially, if you could see your company paying more than $1,000 for a really good RE plugin that made you better at your job, give us some feedback, because I do think that's a doable market, and Marcus is I think hard disagreeing there. $5 final offer. Yeah, exactly. I mean, people are always going to pay as little as they can, but like,
that's the thing. Like, having a plugin store doesn't really make sense if each of the plugins are like $2,000 to $5,000. Like, but it's the only way to actually make, like, to get good development done is to be able to charge that much money.
Yeah, actually, Null, it's a good point. Ghidorah has a lot to do with this too. Like, the economics of the RE market, it is dramatically disturbed by just the existence of Ghidorah, it being a thing. And so a lot of people are willing to put a lot of their own time into developing plugins because Ghidorah is open source and because it literally costs them nothing to try, and it's free. And so, like, I think that definitely makes it harder. And so, and there is an argument. I don't think it's true, but there is an argument that Dynamics wouldn't have been as successful had Ghidorah been out for several years, for example. Although I think BinDiff is significantly higher quality diffing than the Ghidorah built-in diffing.
Guess it in. Like, you're saying, why am I paying more for this plugin than for Binja? That's what people pay for Hexrays. That's what people paid for BinDiff. That's what, like, if you look at other markets like MATLAB, you have like $1,000 product, but then
Autodesk,
like a $30,000 like, plugin that's just for doing, light, photo analysis or whatever. So that's not uncommon, is to have a kind of a low price and then have the plugins is where you end up having to spend the majority of your money.
So
I mean, it's supply demand too. Like, if people release a paid plugin and they're overcharging for it and no one buys it, price lowers until it meets demand, kind of like.
Yeah, Thomas, you said you don't want microtransactions in your work. Like, I totally agree with you. Microtransactions can be done like very aggravatingly, but there's also like price discrimination, which, despite the name, can be an actual very useful thing. The fact that Binary Ninja has a personal license that's 25% of the cost of a commercial license is price discrimination. It's us saying, look, like, we know that personal hobbyists can't afford $1,000, or, well, some could and would probably, but like, we want to try to make this available to people, but like, we can't run a company on $300 software sales. Like, we're not going to have 15 devs that are actually, whoa, Peter's.
You're not going to have great software.
Yeah, like, we can't afford to have a big high quality development team. Like, the fact that we had 220 issues closed, and some of those issues were like UI refactor. Like, the most of what Rusty did the last 6 months was just under like one ticket called like UI refactor. And so, like, we had 220 issues closed encompasses a lot of like development. Like, we just couldn't have done that on $300 purchases. But so you try to like make the market acceptable to different folks, and you figure out which features make sense for some groups. So like, that's, I think, so like I said, I agree with you, Thomas. Like, microtransactions can be the absolute worst, but I think there's a middle zone where it's just trying to price things appropriately so that, like, one audience that's willing to pay for one thing can get that, and another audience that's willing to pay more for something else can get that, and that way you can.
How much was BinDiff? I thought it was like 10 grand or something.
No, it was like a grand. It was like a grand or two.
Grand?
Yeah, I don't think it was. It was
more expensive than IDA was when IDA was out.
Well, yes, that was true. If you didn't get Hexrays, IDA was less than that at the time. The base IDA. But yeah, 1100 sounds about right. Yeah, that's what Brindley's saying. So it was, well, you may be thinking VX class too. Like I said, they actually had separate products that were like at dramatically different price points. And so VX class had a tenth of the customer base, but it made, it was cost 10 times as much. And it actually went down. Oh yeah, Marcus says the price did actually drop to 300 or 400. So it was less. Oh yeah, until Google finally just, yeah, I think for a while Google even sold it, right? Like they didn't give it away for free. There's yeah, Jian Yang ESET discount. That's always gonna be a thing too. I don't make any money off reverse engineering. I do, however, have a credit card and a history of poor financial decisions. I'm not going to admit to how many Rubik's cubes I own. Speaking of credit card and poor financial decisions,
How many of them are in the room next to you?
right now 0. There's literally not a cube next to me, believe it or not.
Really? All
Right?
the thousands
Right,
are.
but there's over 1,000 in the room next to you.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't spoil this room. The room I'm in now has 0.
I mean, there's no door, so it's just a doorway.
Okay, that's fair. Here, I'll go get it real quick.
Oh no. We spawned a monster.
But yeah,
So here's the small sample. This is just the top layer of ones that come off. There's another 1,000 in the box still.
Way too happy about that. But I like the idea of like add-ons from a base and being able to package them also.
We're not going to sell unpacking
that's a
BMP.
small fraction of his.
Look, you want us to get away labs? Like you want us to go? No, man, we're not. And yeah, we're like the static analysis folks, right? We're adding a debugger, but our focus is definitely on static stuff for quite a while. For context, Sergey from OA Labs there is one of the devs of Unpack.me. So go check it out if you do malware stuff and you need to deal with unpacking stuff. Dynamic is definitely the way to go for most unpacking if you can help it. If you can't, it's real tough.
Yeah, Benja lifts automatically and and automatically unpacks it. It was pretty easy. I
Lumina
wrote it in a weekend.
Yeah, Peter
I
needs
don't
the
know why
red pill.
people think it's so hard.
Well, yeah, actually, stealth debugging and automatic unpacking is actually something that Rusty, a couple of folks worked on previously, but not in our current lives. Oh yeah,
Lumina equivalent might turn out to be something. Maybe improvement on Lumina.
You don't have a demo of that, do you, Josh? Do you want to demo that?
Oh man, I haven't demoed that in like 4 months. I'm not gonna do it now.
All right.
All right,
Well,
so this guy's got the idea. So he's gonna make the packers and then sell the unpackers in the shop. It sounds like a money-making machine.
In college,
right?
I had the idea of making a website where you could like trade like papers, but then it would also be an interface that helped catch cheaters, and like it would only work for a short period of time, but you could sell to both groups for like a brief window until everybody got caught.
Lumina killer. It does what I don't know how to compare it to Lumina. Actually, I've never really used it. I just know about its description. Do any of y'all have experience with it?
I mean, it's
so our system will Lumina works on like you give it a hash of a function. Like that's nice if you are concerned about like security, like personal security, but there's a lot of times when that's not a concern at all, and you'd rather just like get the absolute best match possible, and a fuzzy match would be even better. So so our system is able to match across architecture, across compiler builds, across different versions, and and is able to do it not just at a function level, but kind of at, I'll call it like a subsystem level. We've called it.
It's a
we've talked about
compilation
it in the
unit.
past.
Yeah.
Yeah, essentially like a compilation unit boundary. And so that's something we're going to be working on first
Yeah.
half of
Josh
this
has
year.
been working on it, yeah.
Basically, yeah. Basically, it names functions, applies correct types, imports types. It can infer like, what's missing, and it can even give you like matching binaries or like statistically the closest match.
Yeah, so
of a
like
binary.
that's the big difference, right? Is that Lumina works if someone somewhere has seen it before and submitted it to Hextrace, right? Like that's what Lumina is doing. It's a collaborative environment for like anybody who wants to share stuff that they've done with other people, which is a fantastic. In fact, actually, I love the idea of like an open source Lumina that was community based and had plugins for all the tools. I actually think that would be the way to go to build a even better version of Lumina, right? So anybody using either Gita or Binja or IDA.
Well,
and it could publish to a public database and that like everybody could do. I think that's a better use for like
Goodspeed's kind of doing that already.
SimGrate doesn't
right.
let you submit stuff though. Well, you can, but you can't. You do it. So the thing about Lumina that's nice is I can just mark up a database and click submit. Boom, it's done. Right? Like SimGrate requires me to like on the back end push the whole thing separately. So it's not the same. It's not quite the same level of use. But sort of similar idea, and it is open source, which is nice. But I think so. Well, yeah. I mean, security in a cookie. That's just table stakes for doing Windows well, right? I think that's
and that's also what that'll be done at a much simpler level using the SIG-kit.
Yeah, several people have made alt servers for Lumina, from what I understand, but it doesn't go over well. If you ask the powers that be about it. But yeah, I think some sort of like public database with a plugin for all the popular tools would be sweet. Yeah, like I mean, if you wanna do a collab on that too, about a public Lumina, like to implement like a Lumina where you just like you set the prototype, make it cross-platform for all the different tools, and make it a database that everybody has access to and like can commit to. And then like the nice thing about making it open source too is that right now it's a black box. You don't know who submitted what, which is good from a privacy perspective. I mean, like Elpak Nils, he knows exactly who submitted what, which is a separate thing. But like having an open source
thing needs to have some kind of voting,
right? Reputation and voting
system,
and quality, and to be able to say, I only want submitters who've got like this high of a ranking. I don't want like some random person's like garbage CTF like annotations. I want like really really high quality ones. And so I think like having that like as a, and maybe there is even like a paid version of it, but like like there's like an open source base, but then like maybe the quality metrics are part of the paid thing. I don't know. Like I don't know how that would get done, but it's something we've kind of talked about. So I just want to see it done. I don't even care if we're the ones that do it. Trust me, Pie Pony, I have high respect for CTFs. I've done a lot of it myself, but CTFs are explicitly time crunch done. So there's only so much good reverse engineering you can do in a 24-hour, 48-hour CTF. So
yeah, I don't know how I feel about importing a lot of like curse words as variables.
Yeah, like I've yes, I'm Pie Pony.
I already have enough.
I've got 3 DEF CON black badges. I'm well aware of like CTF like reversing styles, and we've all spent a lot of time playing CTF.
Got 5 black badges on
the wall, yeah.
On the stream.
Or yeah. Let's see what else we're missing. So anyway, like but like so like I said, I think the idea of like a community-based repository for Lumina type stuff makes a ton of sense, right? Because you are contributing and you're getting back, and everybody can access it, and more transparency, and like I think that would be a cool idea. But what Josh is working on, we're proposing is, again, it kind of feels Lumina-like because it's going to do a similar kind of thing, except it's going to it doesn't require an exact match, which can make it way more powerful, right? The fact that
it gives you like statistically the best matches, and you can request like, I don't know, top 10 matches or something, and you can filter out certain binary types, and you can, yeah,
Oh man,
it's a lot.
CTF is not that far from real life, Thomas. That's a whole separate
There's
stream.
the recent exploit that it sounded exactly like a CTF
There's
exploit.
so many things that cross over both directions. I know of like real world bugs that have ended in CTFs, and I know CTFs where they found real world bug. Like, yes, some CTF stuff is very like hokey, but like there's a lot of like real world stuff in CTFs. I mean, well, not real life. Real world CTF is actually a CTF that tries to kind of be like that. But yeah, absolutely, it's gonna be recorded. Take it easy. It's good to see you. And I don't. We usually don't only stream for like an hour or two, so probably won't go on too much more. But
I mean, CTF's still a good way to learn stuff. Like
yeah, it's a
that's where I
fantastic
learned
way.
99% of what I know.
Dank, no, there is no GitHub issue for the Lumina solution. Like,
Yeah,
it's
private.
yeah.
For now, and
Are we call what's the name of it? We're calling it again.
can I leak that?
Well, let's wait till Peter gets back on and make sure he's okay with
I
it.
really like.
I
it's
would.
just a project name, but like
Right?
I like the name of it.
I just always forget it.
I'm just gonna say it. Internally, we're calling it Matchmaker. Just because I had Fiddler on the roof stuck in my head.
Yeah. Sorry, I should not be singing on stream. I should not be singing ever.
Hit us with DMCA.
Yeah. Oh no, I'm gonna get a takedown request. All right. Yeah.
It's exciting though, and we have lots of big stuff coming up soon.
Yeah, there's other ones too, not just
Debugger.
Yeah.
Like I'm excited for that.
I think the types are gonna be Valentine's Day release. I don't think we're gonna get the next stable out of Valentine's. That's very unlikely. That would be a very
But
short.
Matchmaker initial release.
Oh,
on
Matchmaker.
Valentine's Day. Ooh, wow. Project Tinder.
It's pretty good. Swipe right on binaries.
Oh wait, that's a great alternative like interface idea.
Oh man,
I just have a boring table right now, but I could
make it
a heart X, or I think those are the buttons.
Make it a swipe. Well, and again, to go back to your question. Again, there's two sort of things we're talking about, right? Like there's the open source community Lumina thing, and then there's like the Matchmaker tool that we're working on, which is, like I said, a little bit binary grinder. Yeah, we're don't get me started with the Team Benji photos and our little cartoon character. We need ones for Matchmaker now. I do actually have he's working on a Valentine's one, I think, but I know exactly. Watch what you start. Yeah. So anybody else have questions, things that they kind of want to talk about? Like I said, we're kind of in like a chill mood because we worked really hard, like testing and bug fixing in the blog out. So I'm not doing RE or plugin dev on stream today, but stay home alone, reverse binaries with the Matchmaker. So yeah, plushie actually would be pretty great. I'm down for a bitch of plushie. Or like a little like pillow, even like the little like just the Ninja logo face as like a little circular like pillow. I think would be amazing. That would be pretty good. It's been what was the last? So I did the magnets. I think the magnets were the last bit of swag I got. So I think I've got another month or two before my my quota is up. But we need to well, the other problem is we need to get like international shipping fixed out because we've been trying to ship like t-shirts amongst the people, and Australia, by the way, literally just you can't ship to right now. They just stopped. They're like, sorry, we don't ship there anymore. It's like, I know it's far away, but come on. So
I've really been trying not to get in contact with the artist and pay for my own custom logos for projects. Like I have a couple projects that I might not have told other people I'm working on.
Are you gonna have like a custom Benji thing made for it? And
yeah, well, no, I mean like for Binary Ninja, I've been working on a couple projects.
Right,
on the
but
side.
you have like stealth stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Are they as good as Nehebin, the command line interface to?
Nehebin is cursed.
It is. It's pretty bad. I feel like that one was a shadow one.
Yeah, no promises, but I've been working on like an IL emulator.
It has been since
For-
March 2020, Brindley says. Oh, sorry, go ahead. Wait, what? IL emulator.
Oh yeah.
Go on.
Yeah, I've been working on IL emulator that just kind of works, but it's super janky, and it's just sitting in private repo right now.
I'm curious to see it. I think
Oh,
actually
anyway, so the name of it was Il Emu.
the
And I
illest
really
of
wanted
the
to
ill.
get Dr. Benji, like taking care of an emu.
So you know, like the emu on like the insurance commercials.
Is that
Like,
an emu? I
is
thought
this-
that was an ostrich.
No, it's an actual emu, isn't it?
What is that, Liberty?
Liberty, Liberty. Oh man, see, advertising works. All right, let's see
It
here.
does.
Limu, emu.
Oh yeah. So anyway. Oh,
Yeah,
it is an emu.
It's totally an emu.
Lemu.
Yeah, Liberty.
Oh, Liberty.
Liberty Mutual.
Okay, I'm changing the name of it.
You
but,
don't like it anymore.
No, I really don't. Also, emus aren't as cute as I thought they would be.
I mean, they're kind of scary if you ever to like
Yeah. Oh man.
pick your eyes
Yeah,
out.
I need to come up with a different animal.
And Doug.
But yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Limu and Doug.
that's gonna be working in the background. I don't know. Maybe if I get time, I can move it to like main project.
No, the emu war what's the official name of the war with the emus?
Yeah.
I forget the name of that one.
God.
Yeah.
But they lost like one soldier and like
No,
10,000 emus.
Nobody died. They just like wasted a lot of ammo. They just couldn't kill them because the emu were too fast and would take off. They couldn't get them bunched up enough, and
Yeah,
yeah,
emu run faster than bullets. You heard it here first on the Binja Physics podcast.
enough would get away before they could get a beat on them. Apparently, they were skittish, and the thing was the commander likened them to guerrilla warfare tactics. He's like they dispersed.
No way.
I'm serious. There's an actual quote from like the commander of the 3 army dudes, the Great Australian War. There we go. Thanks, Hank. Yeah, let's go Wikipedia. The Great Australian War. It's pretty funny. But man, we are really off topic now. So
only a couple steps.
So an emulator.
An emu.
Gladiator.
Gladiator.
Okay, you could do like
like
you
it.
do an I am Spartacus Benji, with just like he's like his shirt's off, and he's got a little shield and just like the head thing or something.
Well, I don't know about the shirt off, but he can have a shield.
All right, we want to get too risque. I
think the artist will charge extra for that.
I hope that's not a thing. Yeah, that would be good.
Yeah, work in progress. Also
Nice.
a Rust plugin, so
A Rust
it's
plugin.
definitely gonna be.
You said you were writing a lot of Rust lately. I was like, oh really? What are you? I was gonna ask you when you mentioned that the other day. Like, what have you been writing Rust for?
Yeah.
All right.
Speeding up updates via CDN.
Oh.
Ooh, Rusty.
Good question, Rusty. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so I've got, at some point, whenever I have a free moment, I'm going to be trying to make the update server download only one file, no matter what changed, and still have minimum amount of downloads to do. So that should speed it up to very fast.
Yeah, it's a known annoyance, and we switch versions a lot too. So we're with you there. It's just the other day, actually, I think it was going to be a race between Josh. Josh was like, I want to go fix this too, and then Rusty's like, no, I got it. I knew literally exactly what to do. Just got to go find the time. So it's a race between, do you guys want faster saving and loading, or do you want faster updates? Because that's the stuff on Rusty's plate right now. But yeah, thanks for asking.
For enterprise offline updates, but definitely a more elegant solution than just download faster.
So KGF, the updates are faster. So they were slow if you went from stable to stable because like Qt version changed and like every file changed. But they did actually get fixed midway through this dev cycle, or they got sped up significantly, partly because I redid how the API docs work. Because long story short, part of the reason that the updates are slow is because lots of little small files aren't super fast. And so the real answer is, as Rusty was describing, we need to re-architect how kind of the updates are bundled and transferred and whatnot. But a temporary fix was just download less files, like minimize the total number of, like big files were fine. It's just like lots of little files that would be disproportionately slow. And so I think I went from like 400 to 80 or 120, or like a halved or quartered or something, like the list of.
Oh no, it was like thousands before.
Was it actually? I don't know. It was a lot
Yeah,
smaller.
it was really
yeah.
bad.
So I
That
bet.
still doesn't help when we change Qt versions.
Yeah, exactly. Qt is still gonna like, so that's why from last stable to this stable, if you only go by stables, it's still relatively slow. But devs are pretty fast.
There
You-
are emojis in comments.
Yeah, what are you talking about, Thomas?
Yeah, it
There's
works.
absolutely emojis and comments. I've got the leaving me up still. Yeah, like add a comment. Oh wait, how do I do emojis in Linux?
You
Copy it
Google
from a web page. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's I miss my Mac when I'm doing this. All right, look there. See, I added a comment. I heart Thomas. Emojis totally in comments since like literally the very beginning. That's actually been a feature from the very first part. Yeah, exactly. If you stay on dev, like updates are pretty quick these days. The other thing we did to change even earlier was it used to have the version number in every API file. It's so like every commit, the whole thing changed. It was awful. So then we refactored that to pull out those into a single JS file that that would be much more efficient, but even better by just eliminating the total number of files too. And then even better is going to be when Rusty actually finishes the refactor. So.
Oh, I don't remember. It was in the blog post, but Glenn fixed up some comment positioning bugs. I don't actually remember if there was an issue for that.
He did. I think, or actually, yes. Improvement, where comments are shown most of the time. There were like 3 different bugs actually that were all touched. Well, one was maybe a regression that affects, but like, here's the 3 issues about that. But yeah, so like the fact that I just made that comment here and it actually landed right there a little bit more consistently than maybe they would have in the past was due to some of these fixes. Yeah, I was actually comics who followed that one. Oh look, Glenn doesn't even get credit for he should have assigned it to himself first before he closed it. Yeah, there was a lot of little ones like that. But yeah, exactly, Dank. We had our important priorities. Like it took us a while to get Pseudo C, but emojis, like we had those 7 years ago. So we knew the important features. It was just, when you're designing things from the ground up, you just sort of like can make choices that take into account sort of like the modern development ecosystem. And it was like it would have taken work not to have emoji support, to some degree. If you use the right APIs, so. All right, well, I'm winding down. I'm getting a little bit hungry. We haven't eaten at the office yet, so.
Is the dwarf info and core before we leave? Isn't that debug info APIs?
So yeah, no, that's a great question, Ninja, and it is not done yet. Hold on, you want me to go get Kyle? Because I think he's in the back. Kyle was working on that. We pulled him off to work on some other stuff, so he's working on some of the other more kind of researchy things that are, we always like to have like a couple of projects that are like this matchmaker that's now, kind of about to be ready to be demoed. That was something that was like research 4 years ago, and so it's now made enough progress and we've solved enough the problems and implemented like, okay, it's moving to reality. We've got other things that are cooking as well too. So he's kind of in the bowels of one of those tasks right now. But I would very much like Dwarf cooked into the core as well too. So technically it doesn't even have to be cooked into the core. It could be refactored as a plugin, but still use the debug info API and be much cleaner. But part of the reason it's not is because he was rewriting it to use the Rust library and the Rust APIs. And it's like half done, I think. So I think he's already got a lot of the code, but I would take either a modification of the Python one so that it would just like auto load and be using the debug info APIs, which would be a lot better than the current Python plugin, or yeah, just the Rust native rewrite would be nice. Would be nice too. So not yet, unfortunately, but hopefully before too long. That'd be a good one. Yeah. Any other questions before we hop off? Thanks for hanging out with us this evening or this morning, whatever time of day it is in your time zone. Thanks. Is El Biazo? Yeah, I think it's probably Eric. is it ELBASO? But yep, we're gonna wrap it up. Thanks to everybody for hanging out in stream. It was good to see y'all. We're all gonna go take a break, come back with a slate of 3.1 bugs lined up, ready to go, and we'll catch you all in 2 weeks. Sweet. Cheers, everybody.